Hey everyone, welcome to the first Substack Bookstore book drop. I'm Fleur Hull and I'm delighted today to be kicking off our book drop series with our featured spotlight author, Dr. Nikki Finlay, who's just launched today her book, The Economy Will Always Get Better. I've read the book and I'm so excited to be speaking with Nikki today and telling you all about the book. The featured spotlight go live book drop is a perk that our featured spotlight subscribers in the bookstore receive. It's a 30-minute interview with me about your book, where you get a chance to go live and speak about your book and promote it to a wider audience. So, for those of you who are interested in having a launch with some go live out to the 24,000 plus followers of the Substack Bookstore, please feel free to upgrade now while prices are slightly lower than they usually are. The other thing I'll mention before we get started with the interview with Nikki is that anyone who buys Nikki's book, and it's priced for maximum access at 99 cents US.
That's for
Anyone
the
who
Kindle.
buys her book, that's for the ebook. Yes, thank you for the ebook. Uh, for anyone who purchases the ebook and sends me a screenshot of their purchase receipt via Substack DM in the next 24 hours, will receive a free author visibility tool, anything from an Amazon checklist through to a guide to getting ARC reviews. There's about 10 or 12 different options there for freebies for authors who are watching this who want to support another indie author by purchasing Nikki's book. So that's the housekeeping out of the way, and I'm excited to introduce Dr. Nikki Finlay, who has taught economics for over 20 years and has been writing her book, The Economy Will Always Get Better, for more than a year. I met um, Nikki through Dr. Kassane Slaney, who was in contact with Nikki. And more than a year ago, I wrote and published on Substack a draft marketing plan for Nikki's book. And yeah, she was just telling me that she's been working through that marketing plan along the way alongside her publisher. And today is launch day, and we're very excited to be talking about the book. So, welcome, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining us and for being a featured spotlight author in the Substack Bookstore.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. All right, well, let's get underway. I've got some questions here that came to mind as I read the book. I'm thinking about the introduction verse. You open the book with your husband holding three mortgages and the stock market crashing in October 2008. And you say that even in that panic, you started to feel optimistic. What clicked in that moment for you and let you see the crash differently compared with those around you?
Well, it's kind of funny. I was teaching about the tools we use in the US anyway to fix a recession. And we were watching those tools be put into place by the Federal Reserve and by the US government, the Congress and the president here. And after a while, they started working. It takes a while for fiscal policy and monetary policy to work. Um, you'll have to read the book to find out what those two phrases mean. But it was just like, here it was alongside my students learning this. And I thought, oh, we can get out of this. We've done it before.
That's fantastic. What a great way to view things, and how fortunate you were to be able to see things so clearly at that time. So you've now lived through 5 recessions and 2 major inflationary periods as an adult. What made you decide in the last couple of years that it was the time to start writing all of this down?
Um, well, I've always wanted to write a book. I thought it would be a novel, quite frankly, when I was younger, but um, I was home disabled during COVID, and I decided now's the time. I had always
Fantastic.
wanted to write the book for my students, and so it was like, well, now I should do it.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I identify with that because I wrote my first book during COVID as well. So I think, yeah, it was a time a lot of people made that decision. So we're on the same page there. Um, as I said, you spent over 2 decades teaching macroeconomics and economics to students aged 16 up into their 60s. When you think about the book and your teaching career, what's the biggest misconception adult learners walk in with about economics?
They think reducing taxes will is the right answer, and sometimes it's truly the wrong answer. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but sometimes raising taxes or at least leaving them be is the right answer.
That's a really good point. And I forgot to mention at the start of this interview, I actually have a Bachelor of Economics myself. That was my
I
first
loved
degree.
reading that.
I majored in marketing and Japanese. So I didn't have like a full course of economics. But I have to say, in reading the book, obviously it took me back to a lot of the things that I had learned back in my university days. But the other thing that struck me is how accessible it is for lay people who haven't had an economic background. And uh, my father is also an economics graduate and works as an applied economist, even in his 80s, doing work. And the
Wow.
thing that I always remind him is that people just take economics for granted. It's all around us, and um, it's it's something important that we all need to know, and that's why I think this book is a worthwhile book for anyone, even if they've never thought of themselves as having an interest in economics per se. It's a great optimistic book about things always getting better, no matter how tough the economic circumstances are. Um, in the book, you write about a running joke in your family. Your husband took an economics class decades ago and came away thinking it was voodoo because economists kept claiming to know what would happen next. 40 years later, he's the one reading The Economist magazine and flagging articles for you. What changed?
This is going to sound peculiar, but cop shows. We watch a lot of them, and the answer often is follow the money in a police procedural or a other kind of cop show. I got addicted to them this century. I was not a
Yeah,
big TV
wow.
watcher, and so also I think just being married to an economist and hearing her preach supply and demand for 45 years, 46 years, really did.
I can understand that. My kids are the same, having a mother and a grandfather who are wired in terms of economics. Yes, they definitely hear about it and pick it up by osmosis. So, in the book, the core idea or the central promise is that the economy always gets better. Not usually, not eventually, but always. And that's quite a bold claim to someone staring at their grocery bill right now. Why are you so confident in it?
Hold on a second, my screen went away again. Sorry about that. Um, okay. um, because I've seen it work. I've seen us recover from recessions. I've seen us recover from periods of high inflation. We were almost hitting the runway in 2024, and then things changed. Uh, so, and I won't talk about that, but um, things do get worse. I'm not saying they never do. We're going to have recessions. very occasionally, we're going to have periods of high inflation, and we need to have the tools to understand what's going on, so that we can, um, you know, figure out what's happening in the world, and not panic. I think as much. I know people are going to panic when they hear the word, unemployment rising, but in the U.S., unemployment has been falling, not for any good reasons. So, and it's heartbreaking sometimes to read that
Yes.
and know that people are
Yes.
struggling.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. One of the other things in the book that really stood out for me is this concept of the stuff framework. How do I get more stuff? How do I keep the stuff I have? Why is my stuff so expensive? Where does the stuff come from? Can you walk our viewers through that idea? And it's kind of the book, the essential message in the book is that humans are wired to want and need stuff, and that drives the economy. So tell us a bit more about
It
that.
does. Especially in the U.S., 69% of GDP here is consumption, domestic consumption. Most of it's services, of course. And uh, there's a funny story to go with this too. Um, when I was teaching, I realized saying goods and services all the time. And I'm a Southerner, and so just saying stuff was a whole lot easier. And I was doing some recordings when I first started doing online classes, and there was one student who said her mother just loved it. She was listening to the recording, saying she just loved it. She says she goes on about stuff, doesn't she? So, and I said, well, did she like them? She said she listens to every one.
Oh, wow. What a great story. Yeah, and it is. It's such a, I guess, colloquial, but totally relatable way to explain things for people who are coming to economics for the first time. So, yeah, I applaud you on taking that approach. Obviously, you came up with it a long time ago, but putting it in the book made it very, I could see, very relatable for readers, yeah, coming to the book without an economics background. Um, in chapter 5, one of your students reacted to a lesson on banking by asking, in your words, "The bank does what with my money?" That's most people's gut reaction once they learn how fractional reserve banking actually works. And there's a big term that people can Google. Um, should people be worried, or is this the system working as intended?
Oh, it's definitely working as intended. This is how we change interest rates, how interest rate changes can be affected. And also, it pumps more money into the system because the bank takes your money and makes loans with it. And we want that to happen because most of that's going into investment and into people's homes and cars. And I mean, it's not only banks that do this these days, but it's easier to just talk about the banking system as if it's the one financial institution. Keep it really simple. But yeah, it absolutely works. And
Yeah.
there's safeguards in place I'm sure in almost every country that has a central bank to keep the money safe. Here, it's
Yeah.
what we call the FDIC is in charge of
Yes.
keeping our money safe, and the Federal Reserve
Yes.
for that matter.
Yeah. We have similar structures here in Australia. So, yeah, that absolutely rang true for me. Um, you tell the story of the 2021-2022 chip shortage through your son totaling his car and your family going from a two-car household to one. You trace that all the way through Bitcoin mining, remote work, and EV batteries. What surprised you most when you followed that chain? It's such an interesting story. It's in chapter 2 about how prices work.
It shouldn't have surprised me, but honestly, how dang expensive cars are in this country anyway. Now there are certain restrictions on cars coming into this country, so that pushes up prices. But it just amazed me how much they went up in price during the ship shortage, and they're not coming back down, or they come down a little bit, but it's not enough for the average American to be able to afford a home, a car. I'm sorry. So it was. I was just shocked by it, honestly, when I found
Yeah.
out.
Yes, absolutely. In the unemployment chapter, you open with an argument with your brother who insisted the unemployment rate was wrong because none of my friends are being counted. That's a complaint a lot of people share, and we get that in Australia here too. Was he right?
Oh, of course he was right, but I mean, he likes to push my buttons for one thing, but
That's what brothers do.
that's what brothers do. Yes. Thank goodness I only have the one. The sister came right to my sister left, actually. In any case, um, but you can't count everybody. You can't ask every single household. There's 350 million Americans in this country. There's a lot of Australians too, and a lot of families. And so the the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, takes a sample. It's a huge sample. It's like 40 to 60,000 people, households, and asks them this question. And that's close enough to infinity for statistics work. I mean, that is
Yes,
infinity for statistics work.
yes, yes. We've just had last week the Australian census, which happens every 5 years. So debate about what's getting counted has been very much top of everyone's mind here in Australia. So that's a good question. Um, so, in terms of tariffs and trade and the present moment, without us getting too political, Chapter 10 was clearly written with the current tariff conversation in mind. Yeah, without getting too political, what do you want, I guess, viewers to understand about who actually pays for a tariff?
I want them to understand that it's consumers and businesses who are paying the brunt of the tariffs here. Um, Businesses have been eating a part of the cost, and I was surprised that a lot of them were doing that. But they can't do that forever. I mean, their shareholders are going to complain eventually and say, "No, you need to recoup those costs." Um, it's just we um, we as consumers and businesses in this country are paying for it, not the countries that are shipping things out.
Mm.
And that was the intent. Plus, it doesn't make us enough money to be worth it.
Yeah, that's a powerful message. It's obviously rife with people's political views. So we'll move on from tariffs, but yes, that's my understanding as well. I agree with you there. Um, I guess reflecting on the whole book, if someone gets a hold of your book, and just a reminder at this point in the interview that anyone who buys the book, it's the ebook 99 cents on Amazon at the moment. And if you buy the book and DM me on Substack with a link to your purchase receipt, you can choose one of about a dozen author visibility tools that have been created in the Substack bookstore, and as a little thank you for supporting an indie author. So go ahead and search for the book. The Economy Always Gets Better on Amazon, and help Nikki out in terms of her launch today, and you'll get a bonus for doing so. Um, if someone perhaps without an economics background, Nikki, who reads maybe only one chapter before the next time they're anxious about the news, which chapter should it be, do you think, and why?
The introduction. I know a lot of people skip introductions in nonfiction book. I really meant for it to be chapter one. Um, it gives a very positive message, and it also shares the things And if the only other chapter you read is chapter two, chapter one, it talks, it used to be chapter two, it talks about the data. And I think that's a really strong thing for people to at least have an understanding about the key indicators we look at when we look at the economy.
Fantastic. That's great to know. You end the book with, you don't need to panic, you know what's next. If someone's worried about their job or their mortgage or grocery bill right now, what's the one thing that they can practically do with what's in this book?
Well, they can prepare. They can think about, okay, if this is going to happen, how can you get ready for it? What can you do? Can you set aside some money now? Can you cut back on some expenses? Can you maybe switch to something that's cheaper? And I know that's not possible for everybody. A lot of people are already buying the cheapest stuff possible, and they can't go down, if you will. But and also, really, really, if you're ever worried about inflation, buy a house. I mean, rents were just amazing. So were house prices. So it kind of evened out in this country during the time period. But uh, it that is one thing that the price won't change because you've got a fixed mortgage.
Yes, yes. And having it is
Oops.
such an advantage, and not being subject to landlords' whims, selling the house or moving you on. So, yes, that's, I'm sure, part of the American dream, and it's very much the Australian dream as well. There's a lot of talk about housing policy here in Australia, and houses are very expensive. So, yeah, it's an ongoing problem. But if you can get a roof over your head, that's a way to hedge, isn't it, against inflationary pressures with a fixed mortgage.
Yeah, I live in one of the cheaper parts of the country, uh, just outside of Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's itself a little on the pricey side, but not really compared to other major cities across the country. And if you move just a few miles outside the perimeter, as we call it, um, it's a lot cheaper. And um, you have to figure out, is it better to be close to work, or is it better to be and that minimize my commute, or is it better to have a house that meets more of my requirements too?
Yeah, that's a very good summary of the trade-offs that people are thinking about when they're looking to purchase the house. Absolutely, yes. Um, so we'll close up shortly, but before we do, I just want to hear from you. Where can people find The Economy Always Gets Better, and where should they go to keep learning from you um, on an ongoing basis? Tell us about your Substack and a little bit more about yeah, where the book's available. I'll put the link in the chat so that people can buy the book.
Um, it should be out on Amazon wherever you live. It is only in English, so if English is not your first language, that's really the only way to get to it that I know of. I haven't made any deals with other places. Bookshop is another place you can get it in the U.S. and in the United Kingdom. And For those of us in the US and Canada, you can get it through Amplify. The Substack is the Economics for the Rest of Us, which is a title Fleur actually came up with herself. And I said, oh, that's perfect. I'm going to use that. So I changed it from Nikki's Economic Stories to Fleur's Economics for the Rest of Us. And I love how that captures what I want to do with it. Economics without intimidation.
You know what? I'd forgotten that I'd put that in the marketing plan. So thank you for reminding me about that, Nikki. I've
It's
put
great.
a link to your book and to your Substack in the chat. And before we close off, is there any other message that you'd like to get out to readers and viewers today about your book or the messages within it?
I'd love for you to read it. I'd love for you to leave a pleasant comment if you can on a review on Amazon or Goodreads or wherever you leave reviews. Um, and say something nice. If there's some things like I came across a review today, which was very helpful because it said, "I wish she'd spent more time on this," and I was like, "Oh, he's really right. I should have spent more time on that." So that's something I'm going to address in my column instead in my Substack. But um, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. You can contact me via my Substack and tell me, I still don't understand this. Can you explain it again? I'm happy to do that. And I will be starting to do some, I don't know, fireside chats in the coming year. I'm not set up for that currently, but some spaces for those of you who bought the book to talk to me about things you don't understand and see if the 1-to-1 kind of work or the 5-to-1 actually works better. Because sometimes people
Excellent.
just need somebody to explain it while they're talking.
Absolutely. That sounds exciting, Nikki. And I'm so thrilled for us to have had this time together for our first ever book drop within the Substack Bookstore. The link to buy Nikki's book is in the chat, and please support Nikki. It's 99 cents, and it really helps not only Nikki's sales figures, but obviously it boosts her in the Amazon algorithm and tells Amazon that this is a book worth showing to other readers and helps her get up the chart. She's already #1 new release in a couple of categories on Amazon.com. So let's see if we can try and push her to bestseller overall in at least one of her categories. So I'm grateful for all of you who've tuned in today. And for those of you watching afterwards, please buy the book, leave a review after you've read it, and send me a screenshot of your purchase receipt. And I'll send you a freebie that you can use for your own author journey. So thanks again, Nikki, for joining us. Congratulations on the launch of your book and
Thank
all the
you.
very best with the times ahead post-launch. It's an exciting time. So I'm really happy for you, and I'm thrilled we got the chance to talk today.
I appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate this.
Thanks so much, Nikki. Have a great day, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.